This is the most expensive GWM you can currently buy here in Australia. This is the Tank 500 High 4T. It's the plug-in hybrid version of the company's flagship off-road SUV, designed to go up against the Toyota Prado, Ford Everest, all the big names in this segment. This one is just under $80,000 drive away before discounts, and it's got plenty of equipment for that money, but it is a lot of coin for a big four-wheel drive like this that isn't from an established brand. Is it any good? We're going to find out in this video, but taking this one back where it got all that mud on it to see what it's like off-road. Let's get started.
The GWM Tank 500 plug-in hybrid is available in a single model grade, priced from $79,990 drive away in flagship Ultra trim. For a limited time, it's available with a $2,000 discount, bringing its price down to $77,990 drive away. That regular price is $6,000 dearer than a Tank 500 Ultra hybrid without a plug, and on par with a base Toyota Prado diesel, which is about $78,500 drive away in New South Wales. The Tank 500 plug-in hybrid is only new, but for other new and used GWM vehicles for sale, head to Drive Marketplace now, with thousands of listings across Australia. Standard features in the Tank 500 plug-in hybrid include a 14.6-inch touchscreen, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, panoramic sunroof, Nappa leather seats, front seats with heating, cooling and massaging, and an Infinity branded sound system. It also gets multi-zone climate control, a head-up display, and a 360-degree camera. Powering the Tank 500 plug-in hybrid is 180 kilowatt, 380 Nm 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine, mated with a 120 kilowatt, 400 Nm electric motor, as well as a 9-speed automatic transmission. Combined outputs are 300 kilowatts and 750 Nm, up from 255 kilowatts in the regular hybrid, and it's all assisted by 37.1 kilowatt-hour nickel manganese cobalt battery pack, which gives the car a claimed electric-only driving range of 120 kilometers or 950 kilometers in hybrid mode. As with a regular Tank 500 hybrid, the plug-in hybrid can tow 3,000 kilograms and wade through 800 millimeters of water, with off-road items including front, rear and center locking differentials. It supports DC fast charging at up to 50 kilowatts, as well as vehicle-to-load tech, allowing the battery to power external devices at up to 6 kilowatts.
This is the biggest car in the GWM range in terms of size and presence. A big four-wheel drive, again, up against the Prado and those kind of vehicles in that segment. You'll notice no real way to tell the plug-in hybrid from the outside, apart from a slightly different wheel design that is helpfully covered by mud on this one. Gitty highway terrain tyres on this model, even though it is the top of the range version, and it is a pretty stylish and generally quite generically handsome looking car, I would say. Plenty of road presence, quite big, quite tough. Nice chrome highlights on this one as well. This is obviously available in the top of the range Ultra spec only if you want this plug-in hybrid drivetrain, and it is also strictly a 5-seater. Is that a problem for you? Let us know down below. Inside the Tank 500, and the differences between the plug-in hybrid and the normal hybrid are pretty hard to tell in here. Still got the same switchgear, the same screens, all the same features you get in a top of the range Tank 500 Ultra hybrid. In front of me here, I've got two big digital screens, 14.6 inches for this infotainment screen, as well as a digital driver's display. The latter is not the most customizable. I can show things like tire pressures and speed and fuel economy and all that kind of stuff, but the software in this car is starting to get a little bit old, at least compared to other cars in the GWM range. This touchscreen here is pretty good, pretty snappy, pretty quick to respond. Not the last word in that, I would say, but it does the job pretty well. There are quite a few menus to learn though when you get this car. There's obviously a car settings menu, but also other bits and pieces that you can do in terms of the energy consumption and all the plug-in hybrid settings inside this car. One of the cool features you get is vehicle to load. So you can use the battery pack in this car to charge external electrical devices, things like hair dryers or camping equipment or power tools or stuff like that. That is a big benefit of plug-in hybrid vehicles. Now elsewhere in here, you've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto run through a wireless connection in this car, as well as, usual digital radio, all that kind of stuff you find in a car like this, as well as embedded satellite navigation, which is good to see. The 500 has always been pretty richly appointed in terms of your materials. Nice leather steering wheel here, nice soft armrests in the center console, as well as on the doors. Bit of fake wood trim on the dash, which I probably would love it or leave it, depending on what your preferences are. As well as these seats, quite comfortable, not the most supportive, but still pretty comfy. Got things like under fire adjustment as well on them, which is often rare in a Chinese made car, but good power adjustment as well as heating and ventilation on these seats. Now, a lot of my car controls run through this touchscreen here. including things like your climate control. You've got some shortcuts down below the screen here for things like your demisters, your recirculating air, as well as your fan speed, but it would be nice to have some physical temperature controls rather than having to go through the screen here. Elsewhere in the cabin, got plenty of physical controls in the center console in terms of your four-wheel drive modes, obviously your front and your rear diff locks, low range driving, as well as things like your tank turn style mode, and of course your heated and ventilated seats. Storage is also pretty good. A decent sized center console here with a sliding tray to cover the cup holders. Got a bit of storage under the center console that you can't see from that side, but there is a little bit of space to my left knee, as well as USB ports, wireless phone charger. Decent sized glove box there as well. Not massive, but still probably okay for smaller items. And yeah, generally quite a comfortable and well appointed cabin inside this car. This is a pretty plush experience in the back of the Tank 500. Now obviously you've got the same nice leather look seats as you get in the front, but also fold down this armrest, and you even got your own climate control panel here like you're in the back of a limo. Separate zone of climate for the rear seats, as well as heated and ventilated rear seats, which is pretty rare to see in the segment. You can control it here through this small entertainment screen over here, as well as music and other car settings you can manage through this display. Cup holders here as well, underneath this nice little cover there, as well as actually a decent amount of storage in there. Not a whole lot, but still more than you otherwise get in a car in this class. Good, pretty comfortable seats as well, good under thigh support. Space is also pretty good. I'm 186 centimeters tall, or 6'1". Got loads of knee room here to the front seat. Okay tie room, as well as okay headroom. Not an incredible amount, but still enough sort of for me to fit without touching my head into the roof. Pretty flat floor. Cool features like sun blinds in the windows for kids, as well as some nice materials around the place as well. This is a pretty nice back seat for this category and the price you're paying. So yeah, pretty impressed overall. Now the boot of the Tank 500 still have a side opening door like you got on an older Prado, for example, in this car. It is obviously quite a big car, but the space isn't quite as big as you might think. Quite a load lip here between where I'm standing as well as the main load lip of the boot, and then even more load lip up here. There are things like your battery and your sort of electrical components will sit under this floor, so it is raised quite a bit. Not quite as bad as say a 7-seat Prado, but I think this is probably a little bit worse than a 5-seat Toyota Prado. And again, this car is also a 5-seater. There's no third row. That's part of maximizing the payload of this car because it is a lot heavier under the skin with that battery, but there isn't actually much of a difference in the GVM of this car. You can see rear seats will fold in a 60-40 split. Got some bag hooks and things back here, but it is generally on the Spartan side for a boot, as well as a retractable cargo cover that does fit there better when you're using two hands, not one. And of course, a full-size spare wheel on the back of the tailgate here, and it's not too heavy to close either. All right, now behind the wheel of the Tank 500 PHEV. Now we're only getting a very quick drive of this car, exclusively off-road. So there's no on-road notes that'll have to come a bit later when we get this car through the drive garage. But first impressions are starting off in hybrid mode here. I can control that with a button on the center console. Go into electric, and it is quiet. As you can hear, there's no engine noise going on in the background. I suppose that's a benefit of a plug-in hybrid vehicle. The hybrid one can do the same thing, but obviously this, with a lot more battery capacity, can run on full EV power for a much longer period. Now, going into some off-road stuff here, nothing exceptionally challenging for a car with, multiple locking diffs, low range, all the off-road toys in the business. But it does do a pretty good job. The articulation in particular, and the parking sensors, let's turn those off, is pretty good. It doesn't feel like in all the driving we've done today that the car is lifting wheels too much. There is a lot of articulation in this car, which is good. And it does feel heavy, right? You can feel that this car weighs as much as it does with the battery, with how much space it has and all the tech you've got on board. These parking sensors will not shut up. There you go. I think they'll come back. So ignore that beeping in the back here. It's doing a good job. We're just in high range at the moment. It's gone back to hybrid mode. No lock diffs, obviously four-wheel drive by default there. And it's doing a pretty good job. It's not particularly challenging, as I said, but it doesn't feel like it's losing traction or losing stability or doing anything weird that it shouldn't otherwise be doing. Through a bit of mud, a bit of water crossing here. Give it a bit of a boost to the throttle there. Yeah. Well, okay. It's doing all right. I'll come back to you in a minute once we get to some more hardcore off-road stuff. Now, obviously, you got plenty of power in this car. The same 300 kilowatt you get in a GWM Canon Alpha Ute. And one thing I will notice is there is a bit of lag in the throttle when you get on it. When you try and do some really close and tight off-road stuff, him on a hill, giving you a bit of throttle, wait, and then it goes. It's not the best, not the most linear. Across its model range, GWM has struggled a little bit with the calibration of throttles, and this car is no different. There's a little bit of a sticky throttle there when you lift off, but it's not too bad. There are some other cars we've driven that have worse in that regard, but yeah, very slight lag there. The engine has just kicked on in the background because I gave it a little bit more throttle to get up that hill. Look, overall, it is doing a pretty good job, and obviously there is a lot of grunt. Not that we're really using it in this scenario, but 0 to 100 in under 7 seconds, 300 kilowatt is a lot of power, but then again, this is a lot of car to move around at the same time. All right, now we're gonna do a pretty gnarly sort of off-road articulation bit. So earlier cars that on this drive route did it in low range with the diffs locked. I'm gonna see how we go with low range, but no diff lock. So put it into neutral, low range there, low range is engaged, and I'm gonna leave diff locks off. So let the traction control sort of do its thing there. I'm gonna stick it in 4L mode. Good, what I want, just sort of let the car figure things out on its own. So this is there's a lot of articulation that's needed in this bit. There you go, let the wheels spin a bit. Oh yeah, okay, it bites, takes a while. You can feel traction control really biting. It's making a lot of noise while it's doing it, like a sort of clicking noise. If I keep a bit of momentum, it's thinking, does it? I can't really feel too much wheel lift. Obviously, where the car is really at an angle, it is lifting wheels, but articulation is otherwise pretty good. So I'm gonna stop it there, and then see if I put this front wheel in a hole there, and then there you go. Does a bit of revs on the engine to sort of get the car moving, but otherwise actually does a pretty good job with that. Yeah, traction control feels okay, a little bit rough in places, but for the most part, pretty decent. It's pretty consistent with what we've seen the Canon Alpha plug-in hybrid when we had that car up against a Ford Ranger PHEV and a BYD Shark 6. Click up there to watch that video once you're done with this one. Now, obviously we haven't done any on-road driving on this launch. There you go, there are the parking sensors again. Let's turn them off. We can get a feel of the ride off-road, and it does feel very body-on-frame vehicle-like. Obviously it is a body-on-frame car. It is a bit firm and jittery over sort of really sharp impacts, as you know, a Prado or any other car in this class would be. It does feel its weight. Obviously, it is heavier than a normal Tank 300, which obviously does come at the cost of your payload, as you find with obviously only 5 seats and a pretty compromised boot back there. Now, over sort of longer undulations and sort of these crests that we're going on here and hill climbs, it does feel okay, but yeah, it is definitely on the firmer side for that. About to jump into a not very deep water crossing. It's only like 300 millimeters, so it's not that deep, but it does it fine. The wading depth is 800 mil, so it shouldn't really have an issue with this, as well as a pretty steep little rocky climb at the end. And I'm gonna leave this in 4.8 for auto. There's that throttle lag sort of getting in the way again. Engine kicks on and just eats that up. Got another hill climb ahead of us here. Now I'm gonna start this in 4A, but with the car in rock mode. I'm gonna see how it does. Give it a bit of throttle. Again, no diffs locked, all purely traction control. It's biting, and there we go. It got it, whoop. That's rock mode, doing its thing for you there. Didn't need low range, didn't need any of that, just with a bit of traction control sense, and it got over that obstacle pretty easily. So to sum up, this Tank 500 is a pretty accomplished off-roader in an environment like this. The PHEV obviously does add a bit more weight and a bit more heft to move around with the car. It does feel like it does a pretty good job, and it's all the gizmos to get you out of trouble and hopefully not into trouble in the first place. Obviously things we don't know about how it drives on the road and sort of the ride on tarmac and stuff like that, but our first impressions here are pretty positive. All right, now I know I said before it's all off-road, but there is a very, very small section of paved road here to see what it's like on tarmac. Now, initial impressions, the ride is on the firm side. Off-road, particularly over ruts and things, you can feel the firmness of the suspension to cope with the weight of this car. Now, that's not too different to a lot of body-on-frame cars in this segment. On a sort of bit of tarmac here, it's a little bit rough, but not too bad. There is some softness in the suspension, I suppose, over speed bumps and things, but again, we need a more detailed test when we get this car in the drive garage for a longer period of time. In terms of low speed behavior, the brake pedal is quite soft. It does need a fair bit of movement of your foot to get it to pull up, but it's not too grabby, which I suppose is a good thing there.
Steering is a bit of heft to it, not too vague, I suppose. There's a bit of directness to it. This car hasn't been tuned for Aussie conditions yet by Rob Tribbiani, former Holland engineer that's now leading this project for GWM in Australia. Overall, it does feel pretty well accomplished on the road, but again, we'll have to get it at home on roads we know for a longer period of time to give a proper verdict on that. Overall, we're pretty impressed with the way the Tank 500 PHEV drives. Again, only a short drive, but off-road is pretty capable. There are a few niggles like the powertrain lag I mentioned before, but for the most part, it is pretty competent and pretty good, and you are getting a lot of car here for that $80,000 price.
So there you have it, a first look and a first drive of the Tank 500 plug-in hybrid. This is a pretty impressive car, at least on this first taste. Plenty of room inside, plenty of technology, plenty of features for that $80,000 asking price. And that plug-in hybrid powertrain certainly is capable in terms of what you get for the money. Lots of power, the promise of a long EV driving range, as well as good fuel economy if you do plug this car in. There are a few places where it could be improved, and we do have to wait to a longer test to see what it's like on a more on-road, realistic driving scenario. The ride on road, again, is a big question mark for us. There are some places where there could be some more physical controls inside the cabin that would be nice, and there are a few little quirks with the plug-in hybrid system in terms of the way it works and some of the lag that you do find off the mark. But for the most part, you're looking for a big off-road family wagon that can also double as an EV around town. This is worth checking out.